Hey everyone, it's Alice. Welcome back to another GRE video. I have to apologize for this one. Because of the holidays, I am home at my parents' house and I did not bring my audio recording equipment. So I apologize for the audio quality, but today's video is about the Analyze and Argument essay. So the way that you want to write an introduction for the argument essay is actually a bit different from how you want to approach the issue essay. And for that reason, I am going to split these up. Before we get into all of that, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more GRE videos. I am also offering personal GRE tutoring. If you'd like to try it out with a free introduction session, see the pinned comment down below to meet with me for 25 minutes when we talk about anything GRE related, including anxieties or general help with the GRE. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the Analyze and Argument introduction. In case you're unfamiliar with the Analyze and Argument essay, it usually gives you a short paragraph about 5 sentences or so, typically of somebody trying to make some type of argument. So some really common ones are asking the city to devote more resources to cleaning up the lake, or asking a school to devote more resources to something else. So something of that sort. And this is, of course, very different from the Analyze and Issue essay, where you are given a statement and asked if you agree or disagree with it. If you want to learn more about how to write the introduction for the issue essay, click on the card up here. In short, when you write an introduction to an argument essay, it's really important that you understand the purpose. So for the argument essay, it's actually very simple. The purpose of your introduction is just to acknowledge that you understand the question, you understand the prompt, what exactly is being argued by the author, and you want to set up your reader and set up yourself as you write the essay. What I mean by setting up the reader is let them understand what you're going to talk about in that essay. And for you, for setting up yourself, if you write a really good introduction, it can serve as a really, really great platform for you to continue to refer back to as you're writing to help guide you and to help make sure that your essay is organized. It's usually about 3 to 4 sentences. It's really a no-frills kind of introduction, and you can change this up a little bit, but 3 to 4 sentences usually works really well. So the main difference between the argument essay and the issue essay is that your argument introduction really is not meant to contribute to the content of the paper. So the argument essay really is just a few sentences to introduce what you're going to write about. In general, this is the way that I would recommend that you break it down. So the first sentence is usually going to be talking about the issue that was in the prompt. So if we're talking about the author trying to petition the city to spend more resources on the lake, for example, that would be your first sentence. Your second sentence is about the main arguments that the author or the writer uses. For this, you want to say, the author believes this because blank, and you want to kind of summarize in a short sentence what the writer was talking about. And for your third sentence, you want to set up your arguments. So you want to say, those might be true, because the whole point is that they could be true, but we're unsure because of these reasons, and you can list them out 1, 2, 3. Now, generally for the introduction, you don't absolutely have to list out what you're going to write about in your body paragraphs, but in general, I really recommend it. The reason for that is because, again, your introduction is meant to not only talk to the reader, but also to yourself as you're writing to help guide you through the process. Now, for me, if I'm writing the first paragraph, I'm going to totally forget what I was going to say in the second paragraph. And because of that, I can go back to my introduction, refer back to it, know exactly what I'm going to say, and keep myself on track. It also helps the reader understand the flow of your paper a lot better. You can certainly write an argument essay that does not list out all of your points, but to me, in general, that works a lot better. So just to show you a few examples, I want to first have this paragraph, which was written as the introduction to one of the previous videos that I have made critiquing and analyze an argument essay. If you want to see that video, click over here. But let's read it. This says, the manager of the Rialto Movie Theater proposes that in order for the Rialto Movie Theater to succeed, it must implement the same features and products that the other movie theater, Apex, has. The author makes this proposal from an assumption deriving from a survey in which people reported that the high prices of movies keeps them from going to the movies several times a year. This proposal is unclear, and in order for it to be plausible and evaluated properly, a few questions need to be answered. So this is really good, and it perfectly follows the structure that I've outlined before, because you can see that the first sentence talks about what exactly is being talked about in the prompt and in your own essay. The second sentence, starting with the author makes this proposal from, talks about why this author is making that proposal, basically what the author's stance is. And then the third sentence has, this proposal is unclear, and in order for it to be plausible and evaluated properly, a few questions need to be answered. So this sets up the rest of the essay, which is going to then be talking about why the proposal is unclear and what it needs instead to be plausible and evaluated properly. This is written very well as an introduction. The only thing that I would really say here is, instead of saying a few questions need to be answered, perhaps actually listing out what those logical problems are can be really useful. So again, that guides the reader, but it also guides you as you're writing to better understand and make sure that everything is very focused. But this is a really, really good example. Now, here is the second example. I have also reviewed this entire essay. You can see that in the card right there. This one is about a study on headaches. So it says, in the summary of a study on headaches suffered by the residents of Mencha, the author states that the steady decrease of headaches suffered by the average citizen of Mencha will continue. The author has come to this conclusion based on the correlation between the mentioned drop with the increasing use of salicylates, which is a chemical that was being discussed, as well as food processing companies' recent invention. The evidence suggests that these substances can be added to food as an addictive savor. However, before this conclusion can be drawn, two particular assumptions made in the paper ought to be looked at. So overall, this also fits the structure that I've outlined pretty well. You can see there is an introduction of the issue, what the author says, and a little bit about why they say that. And then the last sentence of the introduction is usually your quote-unquote thesis sentence. It basically tells the reader and you exactly what you're going to be exploring and writing about in this essay. This sentence is really good, so it's very similar to the previous one. And again, I would say, really, instead of just saying two particular assumptions, you can say assumption 1 and assumption 2 and just outline exactly what those are. Other than that, there are a few weird uses of vocabulary, but other than that, it is pretty solid. Now here, this is the last example that I have, and I actually took it from the GRE website itself. If you go to ets.org and you click on their GRE section, they actually have a few really great pages on both the Analyze an Argument and Analyze an Issue essays. For this one, they actually have a few sample essays along with examples of why each of the essays scored between a 1 and a 6. That way you can really understand the difference between a 1 and a 6, and it has a bunch of practice exam questions that will definitely show up on some tests. I will link that in the description down below. So let's take a look at this. This is from the essay that scored a 6. While it may be true that Mason City government ought to devote more money to riverside recreational facilities, this author's argument does not make a cogent case for increased resources based on river use. It is easy to understand why city residents would want a cleaner river, but this argument is rife with holes in assumptions and thus not strong enough to lead to increased funding. So you can see here that this paragraph only has 2 sentences. Now, both of the sentences are pretty long with a lot of phrases, but it is very short. However, it really does a good job of not only laying out the issue, but also telling what they're going to be talking about in the rest of the essay. So here, when it says this argument is rife with holes and assumptions, you can assume that the rest of the essay then is going to be talking about what those holes and assumptions are. So in general, I think that it works much better to actually list out what those holes and assumptions are, instead of just saying that there are holes and assumptions. But again, this does work very well and it is very clear, so you know exactly when you go to the next paragraph what you're going to be talking about. So I hope after seeing all of those examples, you can get a really much better sense of what the Analyze an Argument introduction should do, what it should look like, and how to write one. So for the most part, the ones that I showed you were written very well. They followed the same basic structure, and you can see that some of the best ones, especially that last one, which scored a 6, used some really good vocabulary. Don't be intimidated by this if you are a foreign exchange student or if your vocabulary just isn't that great, because the thing that's most important is that you are able to explain your points as clearly as possible. The most important thing for you to realize here in this type of introduction is that you want to be short, you want to be to the point, and you want to set up the rest of your essay to be successful. Now, before I wrap up this video, I also want to go ahead and add in that, of course, the introduction is not a make or break type of thing for your essay. The most important thing about your essay is definitely going to be the examples and the type of logic and reasoning that you bring to those points. Now, I will make a video about those in the future, so make sure to like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know exactly when those videos will come out. But the really great thing about having a strong introduction is that you know exactly what you're talking about, your reader knows exactly what you're talking about, and your paper is very organized. So with that, thank you so much. Don't forget that I am offering private tutoring and allowing you to test it out. I will read every comment down below if you leave one, and I will see you again next time. Bye!